Hi guys, today we're going to take a look at Issavi Sphinxes with SDs for a level 80 plus sorcerer. This place has become a lot better since the vocation rebalance and the weekly deliveries. The vocation rebalance allows you to have a little bit more damage through the death stance with the death UE, but also because of the buffer mechanic, it actually lets you skip mana shield here. It's okay to skip mana shield. You will proc buffer sometimes, so you do have to be always conscious and aware of your mana level to make sure to keep it high so that buffer does save you. But I was not using mana shield here and I survived. I did proc the buffer like twice in 15 minutes, so do keep that in mind. But yeah, it's definitely doable now. And the weekly deliveries means that it's actually kind of profitable now because you do drop a few items that are in the weekly delivery system, which means you actually shouldn't be wasting here. So pretty good. At level 80, you can expect around 830k raw with about 20k per hour profit, better than having a waste. Of course, this scales as well pretty heavily with your magic level. I have 62 magic level, which is pretty low, and scales with your levels. The higher level you are, the more damage you deal, the more experience you can get. I know people can get up to like 1k raw here, like level 100 with like 80 magic level. So it does get better. This is just a level 80 recording. What else is to say? Yeah, you want SDs in your supplies. You shouldn't need too many mana potions, especially if you have a full powerful void imbuements. As you can see, I have double powerful void here, which is like the recommended setup. And this lets me just not use any mana potions because I'm not on mana shield anymore. Like I say, I'm just relying on buffer to save me. You do want to have some earth protection, as you can see, and some holy protection as well if you can fit it in. I mean, probably just in your trinket slot, right? There is no access quest required. I do recommend having Terra Amulet. I recommend staying on top of mana for buffer. Do make sure to have like 90% plus mana because you will be triggering buffer here and every now and then. If the damage high roll from Sphinx hits you, then you basically just trigger buffer from one spell. So it does happen. For the charms, not applicable at this level, but for the wheel, I do recommend going into the flat HP and the gem slot. Of course, that will help prevent the buffer triggers. For the rotation, I do recommend death rotation. So you want to be using death beam off cooldown. It does a little bit more damage than the SDs, and then you just want to be SDing otherwise. You do want to be using a converted death UE as well, likely to finish maybe the monster when there's more than one. So of course, use the fire UE converted to death. You can also consider using Energy Wave if there's more than one target, but this shouldn't really happen very often. Plus, you want to avoid it anyway, because if you have more than one Sphinx or Lamassu, then you're in big trouble. So you do want to try and avoid that if possible. But nevertheless, you can do the converted death Energy Wave if you are in that situation. Anyways, for the route, honestly, when you first come in, you kind of just want to run through and want to run all the way to the bottom to kind of like reset the spawn. You don't want to be starting here when all the monsters are. So you kind of want to pop down on Magic Shield and just run down to the bottom and lose focus of all the monsters. And then you just want to be killing all the monsters like around here. You just want to be going, go in here, pull a couple of pull a monster, then go in here, pull a monster, and then bring them all back and like, be killing them in this sort of area. And whenever you see that one of them is like getting red and you're like 2-3 SDs from killing them, then go start heading towards picking up the next monster again, just so you have as little downtime as possible. And yeah, anyway, in my opinion, I was never a big fan of this type of respawn. I'm not a fan of sudden death rune respawns. However, now with the rebalance, I like it a little bit more because we can avoid using this magic shield, which is very wasteful. Now we can just rely on buffer. Works pretty well. Way less, way safer than it was in the past, and you actually turn a profit now, even though you're using sudden death runes. So yeah, pretty happy with it. Definitely recommend you check it out. Very good experience in this level range. And yeah, that's all there is. That's all there is to it. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. So yeah, thanks very much for watching. I'll play the video now and see you next one. Bye bye.